2 of Coming of Age in Mississippi is called High School. The chapters pick up where Part 1 left off. Here in Part 2, Chapter 10, Anne enters high school with new insight into the life of Negroes in Mississippi. She's heard of black people being murdered before, but Mama always blamed an evil spirit. Anne is walking home with a group of classmates when she hears about the murder of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old black boy from Chicago who was killed on a visit to Mississippi. The boys in the group begin talking loudly about the murder. They think white people in Mississippi will become violent. Anne realizes she's been too busy to pay attention to the events of the world around her. When she gets home, Anne tries to bring up Till's murder with her mother, but Mama won't talk about it and says Anne and her friends shouldn't discuss the murder either, especially not around Anne's white employers. Anne wonders why Mama is so scared. Thus, she's surprised when Mrs. Birk brings up the murder the same night and says Till got out of his place with a white woman, and a southern black boy would have known better. Mrs. Birk's voice made Anne frightened of her for the first time. She has a new fear, one worse than poverty and starvation, the fear of being killed just for being black. A few days later, Mrs. Birk holds a guild meeting at her house. Essie eavesdrops and overhears the women talk about an organization called the NAACP. She asks Mama what NAACP means. Mama warns her to never mention that word around a white person. But Anne asks her homeroom teacher, Mrs. Rice, about the NAACP. And Mrs. Rice explains the organization is designed to help Negroes gain a few basic rights. Mrs. Rice invites Anne over for dinner and tells her more about the murder of Negroes in the South. Mrs. Rice insists all the information she's telling Anne is confidential. She can't even talk about it with the other teachers. At the end of the year, Mrs. Rice is fired. Though she doesn't officially join the NAACP for several years, Anne is catapulted into the civil rights movement in this chapter. Her family will claim her life is at stake if she takes action, but Anne understands her life is at stake if she doesn't. While white people will try to pin Emmett Till's murder on his ignorance of the South's customs, black people know better. The murder was a symptom of the racism and white supremacy infecting the nation.